Hello, 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 hello. How you doing out there, everybody? Yes, this is Stone Petoskey welcoming you to another episode of Getting Stoned. Yes, coming to you live from Mother Earth. I'm sending out so much love and goodness and joy and peace and harmony and comfort and healing. Yes, yes, yes. And as always, I'm sending out a big, big, big love-filled hug to all sentient beings. Right on. Feel that now. Come on, you know how we roll around here. I want you to feel that hug. I want you to feel your body, your mind, your heart, your soul just wrapped up in the good vibes. Know you are lovable. Yes, know you are a miracle. Yes. Another day to live, another day to love, another day to laugh, and another day to learn. I'm so grateful to have this time. I appreciate all y'all. Anyone who stops by to give this humble little show of mine a listen. Sending you so much gratitude. Thank you for being here. There's so many things, we can talk about. That's kind of the cool thing about life, right? One of them, anyway. You can pick it from a multitude of subjects and tap on into it. I was reminded the other day, just this quick little story. This person was quite an inspiration to me many moons ago. Had forgotten about her, and of all places, something popped up on the Instagram, and it was about her, and her name was Julia Butterfly Hill, and she was a young lady who had a a vision, perhaps, I don't know. But nonetheless, she was incredibly courageous and fearless and fearsome. And she climbed up a giant redwood tree, and she fucking stayed up there for like 700 and some days. Like legit, y'all. This woman stayed up in the tree for that many days. The tree's name was Luna, and it was her way of taking a stand against the logging companies that were clearing old growth redwood trees, so people could have tables and chairs and, bed frames and whatever nonsense, we gotta have. And, she just took it upon herself to just climb up that tree and camp right out. And I read the book that she wrote. I even sent her a cassette mixtape, which I know she did receive. She even wrote me a note back, so she could listen on her little Walkman up there in the tree. And she had a support team, of course, and they would bring her food and water, and she would haul it up into her perch, and she stayed for over 700 days. Now that is some serious badassery right there. That is taking a position of principle and integrity for something you fiercely believe in. And it brings me to another woman who has been incredibly inspiring for me in a more recent time. This woman's name is Margaret Anna Alice. And I came across this high vibing, massively intelligent, incredibly compassionate, and just downright beautiful soul on another technology-based thing called Substack, which is a platform where you can, if you're not familiar with it, you can write and put whatever you want out there into the world. It's a really, really bitchin' place. I highly recommend checking it out and reading what people have to say. Well, back in the 2020 in March, in April of 2020, when the world was losing its mind, not much has changed. And I was really struggling with what was happening. And I started just, writing poems and words, because that's just one of the ways I try to process when I'm feeling emotions such as anger, which I was feeling a lot of, sadness, disappointment, disgust, frustration, more anger. I took great solace in this woman's words, because I felt that I wasn't alone in my struggle. And she has such a way with words that, I bow down to it. She's an exceptionally talented writer, far greater than I could ever be. But Margaret, just something about her words and the way she spoke and what she had to say just really touched me. And so here we are, 4 years later. She's still writing. She's still just being the incredible inspiration that she is. And she, just like Julia Butterfly Hill, she stands strong and courageously for what she believes in, and she does not hesitate to share that with the world. She stands for truth to power, y'all. And I got nothing but love for this woman. I never met her. We have exchanged notes through the Substack and the email, but I don't know. I have a ton of respect for her, and sometimes when someone touches my life like that, as is the example here today, I like to share it, as I always do on this show of mine. If you've ever come and listened, the handful of listeners that I have, that's what I like to do here. I like to share the words and the vibes of others who inspire me and who've asked me, to think deeper on things, and have brought me closer to myself and to my fellow human beings and the earth and all that good stuff. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a fairy tale. A fairy story, as Margaret calls it, that she wrote. I would encourage you to go up, on the internet and track a copy down in any of your, bookstores that sell books out there, and pick up a copy of this absolutely incredible piece of work by Margaret Anna Alice. Its title is The Vapor, the Hot Hat, and the Witch's Potion. So we're going to jump right on into this here. I'm going to try to do it some level of justice. As I always say when I read the words of others, I put my heart into it, I put my soul into it, and let it be what it is. Just a way of keeping that flow going on in the world and in the universe that I like to do through art, through expression, words, music, dance, cooking, theater, even athletics. There's so much art in sport. And I love that whole kind of the quality of art is the highest expression of the human being, as I see it. And there's no judging on any of it. Each one of us is a creator. Each one of us is an artist. Your life is your work of art. So get out there and start creating it, y'all. You know, time is short. All right, so without further ado here, let me just go and say again, the title of this fairy story by Margaret Anna Alice is The Vapor, the Hot Hat, and the Witch's Potion. And away we go. Once upon a time, in a prosperous land, a rumor swept across the kingdom that there was an invisible vapor floating through the air. Many vapors had come before, but this one was so extraordinary, it called for an extraordinary response. This vapor, the town criers cried, could kill you at any time, anywhere. You could get it by talking, breathing, or singing. You could get it by standing or walking too closely to someone. You could even get it by playing. And the scariest thing of all, you could get it and not even know you had it. The only way to escape was to hide indoors, keep away from people, and rub your hands with a clear jelly every time you touched something. Merchants stopped trading, apprentices stopped learning, and people stopped seeing people. Every day, the town criers yelled out the number of people who had caught the vapor, although most didn't know it since they felt the same as usual, just a lot more scared. They only learned they had it because of a certain spell a sorcerer had written down before the vapor came. The sorcerer had said it wasn't supposed to be cast for vapors and couldn't tell people if they had caught a vapor or not. But the sorcerer had died, and the king's counselors decided to cast the spell anyway. And that is how people found out they had the vapor. The town criers shouted the latest death tolls so often their voices grew hoarse. Almost everyone who died was very, very old, or very, very sick, or very, very fat. Hardly anyone else died. And at the end of the year, it would turn out about the same number had died as had in other years. Still, it was a very scary vapor, and the entire kingdom had to change for the good of the public. The land was no longer prosperous, but the king just minted more coins and tossed them out to his subjects so they wouldn't notice right away. Eventually, people were told they could come out of hiding and the marketplace could open back up if everyone followed a few rules. They had to wear a hot, scratchy hat that covered their ears and eyes so the vapor couldn't get into their ear holes or eye holes. They had to hop 5 times forward and 5 times backward if they accidentally got too close to another person. And, of course, they had to rub their hands with jelly after touching anything. Some people thought the hats looked silly and were even a little dangerous, since they made it hard for them to hear and see and made them sweat in the summer. The hopping took so much time, people weren't able to get much done. When those people didn't wear the hats or hop around, the rest of the people got very, very angry and said it was their fault people were dying and getting sick and couldn't live the way they used to live. Some even took to wearing 2 or more hats for extra protection against the anti-hatters and anti-hoppers. Every so often, the king would tell people to hide back inside again because too many people were catching the vapor. They couldn't work or shop or visit people they loved. There wasn't much to do besides lie around listening to the town criers, who always let people know how scared and angry and resentful they should all feel, especially toward the anti-hatters and anti-hoppers. Suddenly, people started feeling more hopeful. A few witches who were richer than all the world's kingdoms and queendoms combined offered to make a potion people would need to swallow every so often to keep them safe from the vapor. But it would only work if everyone drank it together. It took a few months, but eventually the witches each had their own flavor, grape and orange and tropical punch, and they were ready to pour them into people's mouths. Whenever potions had been made in the past, the witches had had to spend years and years making sure it was safe before giving it to people. This time, though, the vapor was so scary, they skipped all those steps so people could be saved sooner. They even got the king to issue a special decree so no one could hurt the witches if anything bad happened to them after drinking the potion. The king gathered 3/4 of the coins he had collected from the people that year and presented them to the witches. Almost everybody couldn't wait to drink the grape or the orange or the tropical punch potion. They bragged about going to get it and told everyone after they got their first and second drinks. When they came across someone who didn't want to drink it, they got very, very cross. The town criers told everyone to yell at the anti-drinkers because it was their fault they couldn't go back to life like it was before the vapor. Something strange happened after people started drinking the potion. Some of them caught the vapor anyway. But that was because it was a version of the vapor the witches hadn't planned for. Still, it was important to drink both doses of the potion because it was better than not drinking them. To be safe, though, the town criers said they should go back to wearing hot hats and hopping, although most hadn't stopped to begin with because they were afraid of what would happen if they did. Or worse, they might be mistaken for an anti-hatter, anti-hopper, or anti-drinker. Even stranger, some of the people who had drunk the potion died either right after or not long after drinking it. Unlike the people who died from the vapor, these people were often very, very young or very, very healthy or very, very fit. The town criers never shouted about these deaths. If anyone brought it up, they called them an anti-hatter, anti-hopper, and anti-drinker. Being an anti-drinker was the worst of all because everyone knows you need to drink to survive. If you're against drinking the potion, you must surely be against drinking water too. And we all know you can't live without drinking water. Not everyone who drank the potion died. Some just had peculiar things happen to their bodies. They shook all the time, or got rare diseases, or noticed parts of their bodies stopped working. They were bedridden, or lame, or hurt in different ways, and couldn't live the way they did before, or even after the vapor. The town criers didn't tell anyone about these people either. And then there were the drinkers who felt perfectly fine for now. The potion had never been tried for longer than a few months, so no one was really sure what would happen in the next year or two or longer. It was also a different kind of potion than anyone had ever drunk before. This potion changed something inside you that could never be undone. People would also need to drink new versions of the potion every few months, and the king would need to continue giving 3/4 of the kingdom's coins to the witches forever, or at least as long as the kingdom existed. All the surviving drinkers were grateful to the witches and thanked them for saving their lives. They proudly displayed a mark on their chin that meant they'd drunk the potion. The ones who drunk it twice had 2 marks. Those who didn't have any marks were to blame for the kingdom's problems. They weren't permitted to shop in the marketplace or work or apprentice or take part in any public activities. They were shamed and shunned for being a threat to the people of the land. These people started to feel like they should leave the kingdom, but they weren't allowed to travel without the double marks. And besides, all the other kingdoms and queendoms were the same as theirs anyway. There wasn't any place left where people weren't afraid of the vapor and where they didn't demand that everyone drink the potion. Soon, the king decided that the anti-drinkers were so dangerous they would need to be locked in a dungeon until they agreed to drink the potion. They were free to choose whichever flavor they liked. If they decided not to drink, they would simply remain in the dungeon. It was entirely up to them. 1 year passed, and then another. There were fewer and fewer people left in the kingdom. Eventually, so few people were left, the king could no longer collect enough coins to pay the witches. The rest of the kingdoms and queendoms around the world were in the same fix. They decided to join together into one king queendom so they could collect enough coins to buy the potion. After 8 more years passed, there weren't enough people left in all the world to cover the witches' dues. The rulers decided everything that belonged to the people now belonged to the king queendom. The people could still live in their hovels, but they wouldn't own anything. They could earn their keep through labor. Indeed, they might be put to work making the potion. People no longer needed to decide what they wanted to do or be in life because the king queendom would decide for them. People didn't need to pay for anything because all the subjects got equally small amounts of the necessities. Everyone looked the same, acted the same, and thought the same. Most people didn't remember what it was like before the vapor. Some didn't even know there was such a time. The rulers, on the other hand, never wanted for anything. Nor did their friends, the town criers. The witches were the wealthiest of all, and deservedly so. as they had saved the world from the deadly vapor. It wasn't long before there were no more subjects. The rulers, the counselors, the town criers, and the witches had all the earth's riches to themselves, and they lived happily ever after. The end. I've read this fairy story several times. And my heart aches every time. So many thoughts I could expound on here, but I think I just love to let the words of Margaret and Alice resonate, and I don't want to cloud the space with my own thoughts. Thank you, Margaret, from the bottom of my heart. You are a true warrior. Guide, friend, and I appreciate you. Many, many thanks. Many, many thanks. Sending you lots of love and goodness and blessings, my friend. I appreciate you, and yeah. I'm sending a big hug to Michael, too. Rest in peace, brother. So, yeah, we're living in some crazy times, y'all. I would encourage you to tap into your own inner voice, your own inner wisdom, to listen to your heart, to look into the eyes of another, and see your own soul reflected there, because I can say with certainty that we are all strands in the web of being, in the web of life. We are all brothers and sisters, no matter your race, no matter your religion, no matter your political views, no matter who you love, who you sleep with, no matter what you eat. None of it. We are truly, as Thich Nhat Hanh will say, we are into being with all that is. Forever and ever. And that's a fact, Jack. Let's read a poem. We don't want to not read a poem. We always read a poem here on this show, as you know. You got to stand up for something, man. You're gonna fall for anything. Rest assured, there's people out there that want to use you, want to abuse you. They don't give a fuck about you. You're a means to an end. I know it's hard for people like you and me that are compassionate. We just would never do anything horrific like that. It's really hard to comprehend that there are people who would manipulate and lie and coerce and all these sort of dark shadow unresolved aspects of all of us. We all have a shadow and these types of things that can be manifested. So be vigilant, y'all. Yeah. Don't take nobody's word for nothing. You go into it for yourself, before you do what someone tells you to do. And here I go, I'm starting to ramble on this, and I said I wasn't gonna. So here we go. Let's just read a poem. What do you say on that, huh? Let's see. All right. I don't like to. I just gotta open up the book and here we go. This is a poem by a woman whose name is menebroker. And the poem is called Round Up. The old lady came along like a goat herder, yelling and pushing her mad dogs upon those of us who were behind. She walked through the dust after us with excessive voice, herding us into our own slight deaths, with no margin of escape. She threw a thick rope around my neck, tightened it, and pulled until my legs dragged behind her. I yelled, "Whore! Lousy bitch!" But she didn't seem concerned. I tried making human sounds to convince her I was no damn goat, but the rest of the herd was just as eager, and we drowned each other out. A huge, sad bleating that would have brought heaven to our rescue had there been one. There might have been a better way, noble, they say, to die than this, trapped with hundreds of whining commuters who sobbed once too often into the face of darkness. I tried hard to remember exactly what it was that drove me over. But it was too late. Damn. See, that's the when, to me, like, okay, this poem, as you all know, if you listen here, I don't plan stuff out ahead like that, and this particular poem, to me anyways, was so related to the fairy story that I just read. And synchronicities like that always just trip me out. I love it. Alas, here we are, y'all. Here we are. I'm gonna do a tune. This is the original. I played it on here before at some point along the way. This one's called Sweet Music Man, and yeah, it speaks for itself. Sweet music, man, set me free. To the promised land, deliver me. Sweet music, man, set me free. To the promised land, deliver me. When I don't understand, when I'm angry at the man, when the river crests the dam, look to you, sweet music made. I look to you, sweet music made. When the darkness overwhelms me, when I see such hatred and misery, when the greed breeds more poverty, I look to you, sweet music man. I look to you, sweet music man. When the earth she is consumed, when death comes too soon, when the bombs go boom, 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 I look to you, sweet music man. I look to you, sweet music man. Sweet music man, set me free. To the promised land, deliver me. Sweet music man, set me free. To the promised land, deliver me. I look to you, sweet music man. I look to you, sweet music man. 'Cause I know you'll always understand. All right. Well, that was fun, y'all. Again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I love you. You are amazing. Shine your light bright, y'all. Yes, I hope you have a blessed day. Until next time, this is Storm Bataski saying peace.